I read your book, which I thought was terrific.
Oh, thank you.
You were candid and direct in places that in most memoirs of that sort I don't often see. You stopped short in some cases of calling of naming names, which was probably uh, but I was surprised by your candor.
I'm a historian. The key is tell as John Hope Franklin always said to me, tell the unvarnished truth.
I know it. I know it. And before every episode, I collect vinyl records, and before every episode, I select a record that makes sense for the person I'm speaking with. I don't know if you can see over my shoulder.
Yes, I can.
But
Sam Cooke.
So a change is going to come. That was your music.
Yep.
When at opening, and I mean, I think for very obvious reasons, but I'm curious from your perspective, why out of every song you could have selected, that was the one you went with.
I think the great strength of a nation is its ability to change. And I think part of the way you change is by understanding yourself through history. And I wanted the museum to be a place that would not be about guilt, but be a place that would help people find understanding, context, prod them to change. But in essence, the key is that a change has happened in my life in terms of fairness, but there's still a long struggle ahead. And so a change is going to come, was my way of saying, we're not at the promised land yet. We've got a lot of work to do, but we're moving in that direction.
And, I've heard you talk so many times about you don't want the museum to be a place, or you didn't want the National Museum of African American History and Culture to be only a museum of pain and tragedy. You also wanted it to be about resilience and strength. And it seems to me that song captures both of those things beautifully.
Absolutely. And plus, Sam Cooke is one of the greatest artists who unfortunately died so early. I wanted more people to know who he was as well.
And I love Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin. You will never hear me say a bad word about either of them. And they both did versions of that.
That's right.
Track.
They did.
Although for my money, nobody could touch the Sam Cooke original.
None.
It is so moving. I met you for the first time in 2005, shortly after you were named the founding director of the museum. And I was brought in ostensibly to work with you on media training. After our session together, I walked out of there and I said to our friend, our shared contact, I don't know if I did anything that you were fully formed before you walked in the room. If I did 1/10 of 1% of anything in that session, that would be a big compliment. But then when I read your book, it was striking to me how you said that you're very private and you didn't know if you could handle the media scrutiny. And so that was interesting to me because there was a disconnect between the talent that you very clearly have and the feeling you had about having to do that. I'm curious if you feel like you've grown into that, if you're more comfortable in that role as a public spokesperson now.
I always felt I knew how to work with the media, understood, what to say, what not to say, how to be nimble. But what I was really getting at is that basically I'm really a shy private person. And so that every time I had to say to myself, okay, let's control your nerves. Let's figure out how to do this. And that in essence, I always drew from, as I mentioned in my book, the fact that in ninth grade, I had to make a presentation that ended up talking about race to a group where I was the only black person. And I thought that was the worst public speaking moment of my career. And so every time I then would give another talk or work with the media, I'd remember that speech went well. That talk went well. And if I could do that in ninth grade, I could handle anything else.
That's right. And you also talk in the book about growing up Black in an overwhelmingly white community of Belleville, New Jersey. And I wondered if that experience created these qualities in you of learning how to navigate the world, and if it even influenced your communications style in having to speak to so many audiences through the years.
Absolutely. I think growing up in that town forced me to realize a couple things. That if I was going to survive, that I had to figure out ways to straddle many worlds. I also had to learn how to listen carefully and analyze what was going on because there was sometimes physical danger. And so it really gave me so many skills. It taught me to be clear, but it also taught me to realize that the most important thing for me was to accomplish what I needed to accomplish. And if that meant it was somebody else's idea, that's fine. And so it really taught me to be flexible in order to convey what I wanted. But what it really, more than anything else, what it taught me was that you carry an extra burden, that you don't get a chance to not understand how to read a room, not understand how to sort of pivot. So it really did force me, partly out of survival, but it really did force me to learn how to be flexible, protect myself, but still try to accomplish what I needed to.
Thanks for watching this video clip of the Speak Good podcast. If you'd like to hear the complete episode, please check out your favorite podcast directory and subscribe now. Thanks for watching.